Hi, I am Tilly. I am the workshop coordinator for ASSURE, aka the Affiliated Students for Undergraduate Research and Engagement. Today we're going to talk about how to prepare for the Undergraduate Research Symposium. If you are an architecture or design student, we're going to talk about abstracts and presentation types and all that fun stuff. And we also have with us today symposium organizers and fantastic architecture professors that have helped us organize this workshop series. Let's dive in. So by the end of this workshop series, you will understand why we write abstracts to prepare for conferences. You'll understand abstract structure, and you'll also understand the structure of the Undergraduate Research Symposium and what that is. You'll be able to write and edit abstracts. And of course, you'll be able to submit these abstracts and prepare presentations for the Undergraduate Research Symposium. So the Undergraduate Research Symposium, it's in its 11th year. It is a platform and an event for students from all disciplines to share their work and their research, whether it be creative scholarship or research in perhaps a more traditional sense. And all UO undergrads are welcome, as well as LCC undergrads and visiting McNair scholars. And this year it's going to be virtual, and it is happening May 27th, 2021. And the Undergraduate Research Symposium is a fantastic event. It's a really welcoming and inclusive environment. I want to talk a little bit about my Undergraduate Research Symposium experience. So last year, I am a linguistics major, and so I'm involved in a linguistics lab. And my professor suggested that a group of undergraduate research assistants and myself present a poster on the research that we had been doing. And we were a little intimidated by the opportunity, but we decided to go for it. And we were really, really glad we did, because it was such a great experience. We all learned so much about presenting research, and it was such a great way to dip our toes in that water. And it's really prepared us for other conferences that we've done since. And very unexpectedly, we won an award, the College of Arts and Sciences Best Poster Award in Humanities. And so this is a really great opportunity to dip your toe into research and get rewarded for the hard work that you've done. And so you do not have to have a finished project or a finished thesis project to participate in the symposium. Absolutely all disciplines are welcome to participate in the symposium. The symposium uses a very broad definition of research. You don't need to be in an honors program. The things that you present at the research symposium can be your honors project, but they can also be term projects or studio projects, things that you have already done in your classwork and in your studio classes. So you don't need to do any extra labor for the research. You just gotta prepare your favorite final presentation, perhaps for your studio classes for presentation, and then enjoy presenting them. So we're going to talk about the different presentation types for the Undergraduate Research Symposium. And when we're going through this, start thinking about your presentation and what you might want to present, and how you might want to, how that presentation might fit with these different options that we have. So we're going to talk about the different presentation types and compare them in the next slide. But here are some resources for you, and you can find these in the slides for this to access to the link. So the first presentation type we're going to talk about are poster presentations. Poster presentations, generally you show a still image of your poster or of your research, and you do a pre-recorded video, since it is happening virtually this year, that explains your research process. Kind of in the same way that you go through your abstract, you're going to put those same elements in your poster presentation, and we're going to talk about abstract structure today. So poster presentations, you have a still image or a few still images on your screen, and you record the poster, and you do a voiceover and you talk about your research and things like that. And you have the option to engage in a live discussion about your research or your creative work with other people who have done posters in your field of interest. We did this last year and it was a super great experience. Everyone is very friendly and it was a great opportunity to collaborate and discuss with other scientists and researchers. Another presentation type is oral presentations. These presentations generally happen live, and so you have live engagement, not only when you're presenting your research, but also with other folks that have done oral presentations, and they are also in your field of interest. One of the student organization leaders, Sedona, I was talking to, she equated the oral presentations, and I think it's a really good comparison to final presentations in your studio classes. So you present with slides sometimes, but there can be other options too if you want to employ a different medium for that. You present your research over 10 to 15 minutes, and then there's kind of a question and answer session and discussion about what you've done. You can also do a data story. Data stories are similar to oral presentations in that they're not pre-recorded and you do have live engagement. They are a bit shorter. Data stories, the main difference between them and oral presentations is that data stories are more process oriented. So if you want to talk about more of the process that you went through to create your design or your research, data stories are a great option. And data stories are also a great option if perhaps your project is not entirely finished and you more want to focus on where you are now and how you got there. If that's an important aspect of your project for you, then data stories are something that you can think about. And there are creative works presentations, which if you feel that for your project, posters, oral presentations, and data stories, none of those are a good fit with your project, and perhaps you'd rather have another way to present your project, creative works presentations may be a good option for you. And you're totally welcome to come to us your office hours or visit drop-in hours at UROP and Cure, and we're going to talk about how to access those to determine which presentation type would fit best for your research. And so this is an example that Professor Ahn kindly shared with us of a research project. It's very beautiful that could be adapted to a poster. So this is an example of something that you can, that a student has already done and that could easily be adapted for the symposium. So when you're thinking about doing poster presentations, you want to make sure you can include all of these normal visuals that you usually would in your normal projects. And you also want to make sure to include your name, your faculty mentor's name, your department, and things like that, and the title of your research project. So all of that stuff, if you Google research poster, at the top, in the top banner of those images, all that information you want to include in your poster. But otherwise, what you put on your poster is really open-ended and it's up to you. So that's a really good option if you have a project that looks similar to this. Here's another example of something that might work really well as a poster. By the way, I want this table after reading this poster. And so you can see here that this poster is a really good example of a research project structure. It goes through a research question kind of format. It goes through it presents the problem that the researcher is trying to solve, and then it presents the solution in the form of their project. Professors Kaiv and Ahn, is there anything that you would like to add about presentation formats or these presentations in particular?
Yeah, I'd like to address some issues in here. So yes, many of you already have experienced design research. It's in your classroom, it's your studio. Everybody has experienced any form of the research. What we mean by research here is not the really hard science research. We talk about totally different type of the research we are talking about. That include also hard science. Also, that include just your creative endeavor. How would you really highlight your creative endeavor in this this kind of a presentational format. So if you talk about the very interesting design process, that for example, if you use the CNC router, you totally focus on the methodologies, you find the really great things about your methodologies that you already have documented in your studio, that particular topic could be a great topic. In this case, in particular case, it's more of a final outcome, but your design process also part of it. Every one of you may have a precedent study done in the studio. Some of you have a very interesting topic. For example, the Professor Kive has some great studio samples about diversity and equity issues. In that class, students really explore some issue of, the racial issue in our society. And students come up with the really great solutions how we can really address those issues. If you really have a really strong heart in it, just disseminate it so others know what you're doing. So basically, think about what kind of stuff you're really proud of and how you're going to use it. And the methodology would be just the methodology you already used in the studio, and just focus on reformat it and submit it. So your efforts could be minimal, but your heart is really up there, and then you really disseminate that effort to other people. That's a great thing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's a really great explanation. And I totally agree with everything you just said. So there are so many reasons to participate in the Undergraduate Research Symposium, and Professor An just laid out a lot of them. Of course, it gives you presentation experience. It's great for your resumes, new applications, your grad school applications, if you're planning on doing that. But also you have the opportunity to win money through awards, and that's always super cool. And so there is a new award for the Undergraduate Research Symposium this year, is the Center for Environmental Futures Award. And 3 awards in the amount of $500 will be given. We're very excited about this. Kevin and Lance, do you want to say anything else about awards for the symposium this year?
I was just going to mention that although we're super excited to continue our collaboration with our friends in CEF, there's also a specific award for the School of Architecture and Environment. And that's the one we're really excited to announce and promote here. And that's also a total of $500. And so just wanted to mention that we definitely are excited about that new award. And I think just to reinforce, we're really excited about this growing relationship and partnership with the School of Architecture and Environment. And we are so honored to be able to host more students that are doing this amazing work, and in a virtual environment, we hope it maybe creates a little bit more accessibility and opportunity for students to participate. So again, we're really honored and excited for this collaboration.
Thank you so much, Kevin. So registration for the symposium is very easy and accessible. First, you register by April 12th by going on the Undergraduate Research Symposium website. All you need to register is your name, and if you're presenting with the team, like I did last year, the names of your co-presenters, and you need their emails as well. You need a title for your project. You need to decide on what presentation format you would like. And you need the name of your faculty member and your faculty member's email address. That's all you need. And then after that registration deadline, you will get an email to submit an abstract, and you need to submit your abstract for your presentation by April 24th. And then you'll upload the materials that you prepare to present at the Undergraduate Research Symposium by May 18th. And you can check out the YouTube channel for the Undergraduate Research Symposium to see what the different presentations formats looked like this year. And YouTube is a great place to check out because it's one of the main platforms that we'll be using this year. And so let's dive into abstracts. So for the Undergraduate Research Symposium, your title can be up to 30 words and your abstract body can be up to 250 words. Now, that's not a lot of words, and so it's a fairly short abstract. And so we're going to talk about how to condense all of this important information about your project into this 250 words. And you may have to edit a few times, and that's a really important skill. I think a lot of writing is editing, and so we're gonna talk about that today. So an abstract overall is a big picture summary of your project. You explain what you've done and what you're trying to do and what it means for your discipline and for the world, generally the broader impact of your research. And so we're going to go through the anatomy of the abstract right now. I think that this visual of the triangles is very helpful. You go from general at the beginning by giving your reader a toolbox to understand what you're going to talk about with an informative title and introductory sentences. And then you go to specific in that what you're doing, what your project is doing, and how you're doing it. And then you go big again when you talk about the results or the end product of your project and what that means, generally the broader significance of your work. So all of these components should kind of fit together like Lincoln logs, in that they should build on top of each other and fit together really easily and naturally. And that's part of how you make your abstract really comprehensible, is with a nice, easy flow. It's especially helpful when abstract reviewers, when you present at other conferences, when they're reviewing a lot of abstracts. And so to make it super easy to understand and super comprehensible to them, having a very clear and structure that flows well is important. And the first part of that is the intro sentences. I like to think of this as giving your reader a toolbox to understand what you're going to talk about in your abstract. Think of how you would explain your project to someone who is educated but uninformed about architecture or design. And so you might want to start your abstract by informing the reader perhaps about the medium that you're going to be using, or other methods that have been employed in the field, or perhaps if you're investigating the best way to accomplish something through a design, perhaps an eco-friendly design or something like that, you might want to talk about what other architects have done or what other studies have done to show what's most effective in that space or things like that. Next, you want to go into your purpose statement or hypothesis statement, it's often called. This is the part that should lead very naturally from your intro sentences. So from your intro sentences, your reader should know kind of the field that you're going to be exploring. And then you go more specific in your hypothesis or purpose statement. And this is a good place to really promote and sell your project because you worked really hard on it and it's really important. And so explaining how your project might be unique while also explaining what you're going to do is a great way to do hypothesis and purpose statements. After you do your purpose statement, you want to go into your methods. You don't have to go into the nitty-gritty of your methods. You want to just give your reader a broad overview of what you've done. To investigate, so you want to state how you're solving a problem, what's your plan to solve the problem if you haven't conducted the research entirely at that time or finished your project at that time, what's your plan? And it could be in explaining your methods, you might explain your methods in the context of offering a solution to a problem, or perhaps you analyze literature or research from other folks and you're summarizing that at the end of your project and paper. And so after the methods, you go into your results, and this is what happened after you conducted all of the stuff that you talked about in your methods. And what is the end product of your research? And then the significance, which is my favorite part of any abstract and really any research presentation, because it's so exciting. And it's the why should we care part. How does this project affect the daily life of the reader? How could it improve their life? How could it make them see the world differently? And things like that. And so you've done really important work, and showing that it can be applicable in a larger context is really important. And so I think that it's important to keep in mind when you're writing abstracts, and generally during scientific and design communication, is that when you become an expert in something like you all are, it's easy to forget that other people who are educated but are outside your field may not understand immediately what you're talking about in your abstract. And so it's important to pay attention to in your abstract, making it accessible to someone who's educated but not in your field. And this is a skill that grown-up scientists and designers and architects, I think, are still working on. It's a developing skill. And so if you start working on it early in life in college, you'll be head and shoulders above the rest. And you'll be a really good communicator in all aspects of your life, not just in research, but in other contexts too. And so now I like to talk about titles after we've talked about the abstract, because I feel it's easiest to title your work after you don't have to write the entire abstract before you come up with a title, but it's kind of good to think through that process because your title does need to be pretty informative. And so if we are choosing between these two titles, linguistic processes and learning new sounds, A, and B, the competitive relationship between linguistic perception and production when learning new sound contrasts, I think that the better title in the bunch is B. And if you thought, wow, I think the better title might be A, and B is really, really long, that's a correct observation. B is really, really long, but it's okay for abstract titles to be really, really long because they need to be informative. The title is the first impression that your reader gets of your project. And so you want to make sure that it's comprehensible and it draws them in. It's the hook for the rest of your research. I think that there are a lot of great titling strategies that work really, really well. First is the mini summary, which is option B, like we just talked about. This is in fact the title of our project that won the Humanities Award last year. You can also use a question to title your abstract. And this is a really clear way to show the reader what you're going to investigate and how you're going to investigate it. Yakuza in Japan, why are they still there? That's super clear. You know that you're going to know what the Yakuza are by the time you're done reading the abstract, and you're going to understand why the author is investigating that question. If your project is about accomplishing a goal or achieving something, titling it your abstract with that goal is a really effective strategy, preserving the authenticity of Chinese New Year. Definitely an informative title. It's a great hook, and you know what that abstract is going to entail. And I love this title. You can combine strategies and use a question and a mini summary: peace canal, conflict, cooperation, and the Red Sea, Dead Sea convoyance. It's super clear that this author is going to perhaps question whether the canal is really peaceful, and they give a little mini summary of what their presentation is going to be about. And so I'd like to talk through an abstract, and we'll touch more on abstracts in the next workshop, but just to kind of get a sense of how you can write and edit an abstract. Go ahead and read this abstract, and I'll give you a little sec to do that. And then keep an eye out for when you're reading, if you can identify the individual parts of the abstract, things that you think are strong about this abstract, and things that you think should be improved. And so I want to be clear, this is a fantastic abstract. It is on the Undergraduate Research Symposium page as a model abstract. And so how can we take this abstract from good to super really good? I'll just give you all a sec to do that, and then I'll talk through it. Okay, and if you haven't finished reading, you can pause and play it when you're ready. So I think that this abstract does a really great job of laying out the medium and informing the reader about the medium. The lost wax method of casting bronze sculpture. I didn't know about that before, but I feel like I have a good toolbox to understand it now. And I know that the author that's going to be an important part of the abstract, but I need to understand that before I dive in. And I think that this abstract also has a good purpose statement, and they explicitly use the word, my purpose is to celebrate the tales that we tell as humans through sculpture. And then they go into their methods. And I think that the only thing that this abstract could touch a little bit more on is the significance of the work. This person has about 100, over 100 words left. And so using those last 100 words to talk about the broader significance of the work is a great idea. Also, I think that the title could be more informative. Campus sculptures, that's definitely a great starting point. But you could expand on that title for sure and talk about, hook the reader in a little bit more and make it a little bit more informative. And so that is all for this workshop. In the next workshop, we are going to go over more abstract examples and how to write and edit abstracts. We're also going to talk about more specific project examples. Sedona from one of the architecture student groups is we're going to see some of her work and how that can be adapted for the Undergraduate Research Symposium. And we're going to talk about how to craft great presentations for the Undergraduate Research Symposium. Here's the Zoom link, and here are other Assure workshops that are happening this term. And you're always welcome to go to Assure and UROP and CURE and take advantage of those resources and talk to the folks over there. They're absolutely fantastic. And of course, you're always welcome to contact Assure. We are a one-stop shop for students to find research advice. We're here to help you with your research journey and creative works journey. And so stop by our peer mentor office hours. We have 3 peer mentors, Madeline, Julissa, and Alexis, and they all come from different disciplines. And so it's a great opportunity to go to kind of perhaps an older sibling figure that's been through the research process and ask some questions, chat about your research, and their Undergraduate Research Symposium, get some advice. Also go to CURE and Europe open hours and talk with the folks over there. They're absolutely fantastic. And I also want to mention the American Institute of Architecture students. We'll see some work from them in the next workshop, but this is how you can reach out to them and get involved with them. And now we're going to move on to any questions and discussions that might be pertinent. Do you all have anything you'd like to expand on? If not, that is okay, and we can close it here. And I always like to end with a cartoon because I like them. And thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next workshop.